I've filmed this video so many times because I always think of more things to say after I film it. So let's hope that this is the last time. Episodes 5 through 7 of To Be Hero X, I felt majorly surpassed episodes 1 through 4. That was just because I had a lot of issues that I could very clearly critique in episodes 1 through 4, other than episode 2. Episode 2 was a masterpiece. Episode 3 was also pretty fucking good. Episodes 1 and 4, though, there were a lot that I had to say about those. Episodes 5 through 7, I will say, episodes 5 and 6 were rather slow, but I think that episode 7 was an absolute masterpiece that could not have existed the way that it does without episode 5 and 6 structured the way that they were structured. I feel like episodes 5 and 6 had their issues, but I think that episode 7 was such an absolute genuine masterpiece that I can totally negate the issues that I had with episodes 5 and 6, though maybe that's just me being super biased. But something that I find interesting about how much I love episodes 5 through 6 is that my favorite thing about shows is character developments and, the ways in which each character and their own motivations contribute to the greater scheme of things. I like seeing the ways in which they connect, in which their stories connect, in which their motivations connect, and just all of that stuff, basically. I feel as though episodes 5 through 7 had a lot weaker characters than episodes 1 through 4. And I'm not sure why I feel this way, but I really do. I feel as though most of these characters are rather surface level. Though I would say that some of the characters in 1 through 4 are also rather surface level, but still. I feel like there was more to elaborate on with each of them, even when, Rek didn't have much of a personality outside of being this symbol of grief. Because he was a symbol of grief portrayed so well. Whereas in episodes 5 through 7, we do have Shang-Chao, who was just, the nicest guy. Genuinely, Shang-Chao as a character, there's not a lot to say about him. What is there other than he was kind of perfect? He was kind of the perfect man who I would smooch on the lips. Let's be honest. But as a character, not all that interesting. However, I do have some commentary on him that I would like to think about, present, that has a possibility of maybe showing up in a possible season 2. Who's to say? With Xiaoxiang is the voice of reason. She is, strong and capable, and also super caring and loving. And I also am in love with her. God, I would really just... Come on, guys. Polly Shang Xia Cheng plus me. Just saying. I really adored her in episode 2 when she was talking to Yang Cheng and she was basically saying that she knows that Yang Cheng has feelings for her, but she's not gonna wait around for him. I already loved her from that. And then also in episode... I don't know if I said episode 2. I'm sorry. I meant episode 6. And then also in episode 7 when she is, talking to Yang Cheng, trying to get him to cope healthier. Every single conversation that she has with him, she is very... I adore her. I really adore her. However, is there really anything to her character other than the fact that she's a good big sister and that she likes Lucky Cyan and that she is a voice of reason? Not really. Uncle Rock is, I think, more interesting just because I feel that it's rare these days to see a villain whose motivation is more power, more money, more fame. I feel as though recently there's been a spike in villains who are very sympathizable, which, I enjoy. I actually really enjoy. I think that sympathizable villains are very awesome. I love digging into the complexities of them. But also, especially with today's day and age and the society that we live in today, having a villain who is already rich and powerful, their motivation being more rich and more powerful, that's pretty good commentary, especially on such a widespread scale as, To Be Hero X, because To Be Hero X is a rather popular show right now. Genuinely, I think that it's more popular than Link Lick. Correct me if I'm wrong. And, I don't know, I think this is probably, the most popular donghua so far, other than, maybe Heaven Official's Blessing, but also Heaven Official Blessing is more, my circle kind of thing, whereas, dude bros are watching To Be Hero X, So seeing a villain who is so corrupt, just being more corrupt, and grooming a child, and, exploiting a child, for all of that, yeah, I like seeing that in media. Not in like a weird way, but in like a, yeah, that's commentary that needs to be made type way. OG Soul is just a very pitiable character. He was exploited, but we don't get the intricacies of that. We only really see the fact that he wants to retire. He is done with everything, but he's unable to because of the company that he's under. And then he's tricked by, you know, his own boss, I guess, you know, Uncle Rock, to being murdered by the new Isol. And then there's obviously Yang Chong. But I have a full, 30 plus minute video about him called In Defense of Yang Chong, where I talk most about what I think of him, though I will reemphasize that I do think that he is not a 100% morally good person. I think that anyone who, takes revenge in extreme ways is already a little bit morally questionable, but still morally light gray. And it also really depends on what that person did. And, he thought that he sold it pretty bad. So, just saying. I just think that we shouldn't be so harsh on Yang Chong. And I think that he is definitely the best written character throughout episodes 5 through 7. And he made that entire 3 episodes worth it. He absolutely killed it. I genuinely think that he is going to be the most well-written character in To Be Hero X. I can't imagine that they do better than that, because genuinely, Yang Chong is one of the best written characters in media, in my opinion. So, I don't know, argue with the wall. If you disagree with anything I think about Yang Chong, please go to my In Defense of Yang Chong video and comment it there, because that's where I would rather have discussion about Yang Chong. I want to keep this to a broader topic, especially because I have one big point that I want to talk about that I think that deserves discussion. I think that I got through all of the major characters from episodes 5 through 7. If you have any other characters that you want me to talk about, then let me know and I will discuss them as much as I can. I did kind of rush through everyone because I didn't really want to waste time talking about them when I have a bigger few elaborations that I want to talk about. So, firstly, the real thing that made me really confused the first time that I watched it, about whether it was Yang Chong or Isol that lived, it was because Uncle Rock, when telling that guy to kill Shang Chao, he didn't tell him to kill Shang Chao, he told him to kill the new Isol. And all I can say is, what was the purpose? What was the purpose of that? He was obviously just going to kill that guy either way, no matter what happened. So why did he tell him to kill the new Isol instead of to kill Shang Chao? Isn't that interesting? Isn't that a little weird? And then, on top of that, how perfect it is that, when this guy opens the warehouse to, kill the new Isol, only Shang Chao is there, and Shang Chao is wearing the new Isol's mask. What a perfect coincidence. Am I right? And actually, I was talking to my friend about this. This is, like, a big conversation that we had, where they were talking about how they think that, Shang Chao has to be involved somehow, because what are the chances that, Uncle Rock's grandchild is the one who's funding and supporting Yang Chong when when Uncle Rock's whole thing is exploiting Yang Chong? How perfect is that? To which I was like, man, you kind of have a point. I just would love to stay delusional about Shang Chao as a character, because that man's perfect and I want to smooch him. Right? So I was like, I'm staying delusional. I would really love to think that he's just a really sweet guy who just really wanted to invest in Yang Chong. And I also have my own theory as to why he wore the mask, which is because he has his own jealousy of Yang Chong. This has nothing to back it up other than the fact that it would be really cool thematically. Because Yang Chong spends the entire, 3 episodes being insanely jealous of Shang Chao. Well, 2 episodes, 5 and 6, being insanely jealous of Shang Chao. And so I feel like it would be a good parallel if Shang Chao was likewise jealous of Yang Chong. Because, why would he be jealous of Yang Chong? Well, for one, Yang Chong's personality is just very sweet. For one, he's a very likable person for episodes 5 and 6. And I would say 7 too, but, there's a lot of disagreements. There's a lot of disagreement in that, so, I guess. But, for one, his personality is very sweet. He immediately rushes to help people as soon as he sees that they're in need. Not even just people. Remember the cat, the cat story about him, getting mud all over his clothes just to help this cat. And Shangchao has a lot of sweet lines about Yang Chong. And particularly the one that I think about is, like, what the advantage you have over the OG Isol is. And Yang Chong's like, what, then I'm good with kids, And Shangchao is like, no, you're Isol with or without the mask. He admires the personality that Yang Chong has, the bravery that Yang Chong has, the, kind of recklessness that Yang Chong has. Because when someone needs help, Yang Chong helps. That's his whole thing. And that's why Yang Chong beats himself up so much about what happens to Shangchao, is that he hesitated for a second and didn't help. But also, intrusive thoughts are a thing, you can be scared for a split second. You can have a mean thought for a split second and then try your best to, help after that, because you can't control those things. But whatever, I digress. Shangchao has having that sort of jealousy for Yang Chong's personality would be so good. And that would also, be a reason for why he might have put on that mask. Is to see what it's like to be Yang Chong. Because Yang Chong is Yang Chong with or without the mask. Yang Chong is Isol with or without the mask. And Shangchao wants to know what it's like. In a way, I feel like that would be so cool and interesting. And that would, if someone knew that and put that into perspective for Yang Chong, that would be really cool. And, like, if it made Yang Chong snap out of whatever, hole that he's dug himself into, what an interesting storyline that would be. Also, adding to Shangchao's jealousy is, the fact that Xia obviously likes Yang Chong more than she likes Shangchao. Unless you're hashtag a polytruther, which I am. But, like, the show is pretty, obvious in the fact that she's like, yeah, Shangchao asked me out. The reason that I said maybe was because if you want me, then I will be with you. But if you're gonna keep being a little baby about it, then I have bigger and better things out there. So Shangchao probably knows that. She feels that way about Yang Chong. And, he probably has a little bit of jealousy about that too, possibly. Either way, I feel like that's a pretty good, cool reason that he could put on that mask. The other reason that, was brought up was the idea that, Uncle Rock called and was like, hey, can you, like, test out the new Easel mask? And Shangchao was like, yeah, for sure. And then tests it out. And that was actually when Uncle Rock was planning on killing him. But then there poses the question, why doesn't he just tell the guy with the gun, hey, kill Shangchao? There's no reason for him to say, kill the new Isol. Why would he risk the possibility of Yang Chong dying when he has spent so many years working to exploit him? And that's part of what added to my confusion. That's part of what makes it really cool what made it really cool before it was kind of obvious with the body proportions when I watched it the second time, of the Isol at the end, that made it pretty clear that it was Yang Chong, is that, if you ignore that it's obviously Yang Chong, you could really make an argument either way about who lived. Because, even though he spent, years grooming Yang Chong, he spent years making sure that Isol was going to get his reputation back. That kind of thing. I'm not going to go too deep into this like I did in my other iterations of when I filmed this, because I think that it's pretty obviously Yang Chong. However, I would like to say that, I feel like it's a valid question. Why did he say to kill the new Isol if he, didn't want to risk Yang Chong dying? Why would he risk Yang Chong dying? I don't know. It's just a big question mark in my brain. Also, I want to say that I could not imagine Shangchao knew 100% of the plan in any way, shape, or form. No way would he agree to a plan where he ends up dying. So, like, I'm gonna throw that one all the way out. But Shang Chao being involved in it to some extent is a possibility. I would like to think that Uncle Rock probably nudged him towards helping Yang Chong. But ultimately, it was because Shang Chao wanted to help Yang Chong. But also, I just really like to believe that he's just a genuinely good person. So, it's really up to you. I think that there could be arguments either way, unless someone has some kind of proof and they would like to talk about it, because genuinely, that's a conversation I would love to have, actually. I suppose part of me also wonders about how widespread Uncle Rock's plan was. Did anyone know about it? Did Shang Chao's dad know about it? You know? I'm pretty sure Shang Chao's dad is Uncle Rock's son, but also it could be, like, son-in-law. I don't know. Like, did he know that Shang Chao was gonna die? Did he know that, you know, this was gonna happen? You know, if he knew that his son was gonna die, maybe that would, you know, make sense for why he was pushing Yang Chong to take revenge. Like, there's just a lot of things that fit together so well, but also they could have fit together that well simply out of slight manipulation and slight coincidence. Manipulation and the analyzation of the way that Uncle Rock knew these people would react to certain situations, rather than, you know, ultimately telling, you know, even a single member of the company. I don't know. It's just a lot to think about. A lot to ponder, if you will. And this is so, by a landslide, my very shortest video, but like I said, I don't have a lot to say about a lot of the side characters. I think that the side characters in episodes 5 through 7 are rather one note. And if you have more to say about any of them, I would love to hear it very genuinely from the bottom of my heart. But yeah, anyways, as of now, episode 8 of To Be Hero X has come out, Lucky Cyan's episode, and I am excited to talk about that, as well as episode 9, which is coming out this week, in my next video, where I will hopefully see you guys. Please, pretty please, love me, follow me, subscribe. Thank you.